Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com. Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Huntworth. Huntworth gear for all types of weather, all types of terrain, all types of budgets. It's clothing that just works. Check them out at huntworthgear.com. And if I were you, I would check out that Camden hoodie. It's a lightweight, breathable mesh. Really a perfect early season. Was great during turkey season. Like mesh, just even like for right now, like a UV shirt. They have it, I believe, in a solid color as well as the Vertec. I have the one in Vertec, but definitely something to check out. And with our other partners like Latitude, I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the Maverick, and I think I'm going to do like a video. I've had a lot of feedback on some of those 5-minute fixes that I did, and I want to get back into some of that stuff with the gear. And that Maverick saddle with that wider webbing, the rope belt, the removable leg straps is just like the simplest. I mean, I hate that it's like their price point saddle and that's the way that they market it, because it's an incredible simplistic saddle and it's incredibly hard to beat for the price. So get over there, Latitude, check out the Maverick saddle. I'm going to get something out to kind of highlight the things that I like about it. But you can go over to the website. You can use code BHC and save 15%. Right now, Big Shot Targets has a sale going on for the summer solstice where they have their real deer target. It's like the size of like a 110-pound doe. It's got the antlers that go with it, but they're foam, easy pull foam. It's awesome. And basically you get the raccoon target for free. So a nice little small game, fun target. And you can save 10% over there using BCP. Our friends over at Canati and Zinger, definitely check them out if you don't like fletching arrows or you just want to be able to have your arrows quickly, just boom, boom, boom. Really, really enjoy those. And then our friends over at Painted Arrow, they still got that code going on, BHC15. And I think they're putting out some of the greatest content with the reaction videos to people who are sending in their kills. Just those are great videos and really good content. So get over there, check them out, save a little bit of money. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Today is going to be Bret Postal, Angell Road Outdoors. And I'm going to say it again on the podcast, but he's like Howard Stern mixed with the Hanson brothers, mixed with Terry Drury. He's like a shock jock for hunting podcast. Really fun content out of the box. And as soon as you hear him talk on his podcast, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is going to be a fun one. Just kind of talking hunting, kind of talking some of the stuff around the NRC and some other Midwestern dad stuff. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. As always, enjoy the podcast. Thanks for listening. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. And tonight we have what I will call hunting's very own shock jock of podcasting, right? So if you took Howard Stern, one of the Hanson brothers, and Terry Drury and put them together, that's kind of what we've got with Bret Postal here. So Bret Postal, Angell Road Outdoors, go check him out. What do you say, Bret? How do you feel about that?
That's one of the most romantic and honest and thoughtful introductions I've ever received in my entire life. So thank you very much. I'll take it.
So the thing is that, how social media goes and you get like requests or follows or whatever. So I saw this like Angel Road Outdoors and it was like, oh, whatever. And however many months later, year later, I don't know, I get a note that says, hey, if you're friends with Joe Davis, like his house is literally underwater, so you need to give him a call. So I was like, oh shit, yeah, give him a call. And yeah, so that I was going back through and I'm like, that's like, I think our first like interaction.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, I must say, I do feel like I was like, well, am I going to say this on the podcast or not? And I'm like, well, fuck it. I feel like the like Pablo Escobar meme that's like sitting there like waiting, because he's like literally had all my friends on his podcast. So I like listen to him and I'm like, oh, Nate's on there, Joe, oh, Jake, like all these things that I'm like, So I listen to the podcast and it's like, that's why I said like Howard Stern, like he has like this voice. It's like, what in the hell is this guy, like absolute podcast voice? And then you like look at pictures or you watch any of like video clips and he's missing teeth and all sorts of shit. I'm like, what is going on with this guy? So
there is a lot going on with this guy.
Yeah. So the whole like delivery, everything, and like the backstory is hilarious. So if guys haven't heard your podcast or whatever, like how did you end up getting into podcasting?
So I was dating my now wife in 2003, 2004. I ended up having a party at my parents' house when they were in Florida for New Year's. And she is the same age as my younger brother. She came over. I was obsessed. I'd never met her. I knew who she was. I'd never met her. And I was a poon hound at the time. And I was like, I've got to date this chick. Like, she's so adorable. And we ended up starting to date. And she was like, I want to leave. I want to move away from Michigan, which I think a lot of people go through in their late teens, early 20s. They want to go out and see the world. And I honestly, wholeheartedly would encourage everybody to leave your small hometown for a little while, because you get to see the world. And I think if it's meant to be, you will eventually realize how incredible or not your hometown truly is. And so I sort of took a side tour there. We went to Florida. I really missed my family. I would live there for 13 years. We moved in the Monday after Mother's Day of 2004, and I didn't move back to Michigan until 2017. So I really missed my family. I missed my friends. I missed those times where we would sit in my parents' garage and smoke cigarettes and drink beer, and I would listen to my brother's friends play music. And I missed the nonsense, and I missed the jokey jokes, and I missed all that stuff. And I was at a different stage in my life. I was starting a family. I had a great job down there. I bought a house. I mean, it was like everything was cool, but I did miss home. Orlando radio. So 104.1 in Orlando was all talk radio all day long. So there was a morning zoo radio. People local to Michigan would compare it to the Drew and Mike show. It was a cast of characters. They were all really funny. There were skits. There was no music. It was just talk radio. So then there was the morning crew. There was the lunch crew. There was the afternoon crew. And then there was the night crew. And it was just a revolving door of talk radio, which was nothing that I had ever heard of in my entire life. And working outdoors and, you spend your morning commute in traffic, you start to develop sort of a relationship, as weird as that may sound, with these characters. And you start to learn about their lives and things that they're passionate about, things that are funny. And so you become almost obsessed. It's like, I assume you listened to Drew and Mike when you were younger?
No, because I'm on the west side of the state, so we didn't have that. So
I wasn't sure if it was all the way over there or not. So anyway, time progresses and podcasts start to become a thing. A couple of the characters on the morning show decide to start their own podcast. And it still goes today. It's called A Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan. And I watched them leave terrestrial radio and start a podcast, and become successful. I mean, it's how they support their families today. I was sort of misguided when I went down there. I thought I could get a job in radio. I just wanted to play music. Like, I wanted to talk on the radio. I wanted to play cool music, and I wanted to do like the breaks, and I wanted to do the weather and the traffic. I mean, like, that's what I wanted to do. I learned that you can't do that without starting as an intern. Like, you got to get the coffee, and you got to get slapped in the ass, and you got to get kicked in the nuts. Like, you got to go through the proper channels to get on air. But then I watched these guys, and it's like, they bought their own equipment, and they recorded their own stuff, and they created their own characters, or they sort of migrated characters from terrestrial radio, and then they uploaded it onto the internet, and they did events, and they still do like just these incredible things local to Orlando. And I thought, I can fucking do that. So I bought a mixer, which I still am looking at right now. And I bought the cheapest mic stands I could buy on Amazon. And I bought a three pack for $30 microphones that I still use today. And I bought all the stuff, and I learned how to do a mix minus because I was talking to my brother in Michigan, and I had to figure out how to edit stuff and where to upload it and how to host things and what an RSS feed. I had to teach myself how to do all that. And that's where I fell in love with podcasting. The process, the creativity. I don't get a lot of downloads, but that's not the point. The point is I'm talking to people like Adam. I'm talking to people like Nate and Joe and all these really great people, Matt Lear and DJ Riley and Aaron Blasey, and like all these guys that I would never be able to sit down and talk to if I didn't just put myself out there and be like, this is what I'm going to do. And today I use it as a creative outlet. Like, I try to put out good content. I try to say things like I'm a firm believer that funny is funny, whether it hurts your feelings or not. Funny is funny. I've had this conversation with Joe. I'm sure you know this. Creativity, like every idea is a good idea. There is no bad ideas. Just do it. If it doesn't work, it just didn't work. You just got to try it. And so this is my outlet these days.
So do you think that you're like more vested in podcasting than, because having done it, around that 2017, like that's when we started, and like having to learn all that stuff. And I heard you talk when you were talking to Kurt about the mix minus in particular. Yeah. And I probably still have a link or a video saved on my phone.
Yeah.
To figure that out, because it's always wrong. Like every time if you break it down and put it back together, it's like, why isn't this fucking working? Like I do this, I've done this 400 times. Like why is this not working? And then now you can just be like, oh, well, I'm going to start a podcast right here, and we're going to do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it is that no idea is a bad idea, but I think that's why people like, it's very flighty. Like, yeah. Oh, there's a new podcast, then it's gone,
right. 100%. Am I invested in it? Listen, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to try and do something different. I do believe that I got a little burnout on that podcast that my brother and I did. We did 250 episodes over the course of like 8 years or something, and I got tired of doing that exact thing. Now, I have gone back and listened, and it was, for what it was pretty funny. I still today will put little clips that I created in my intros or as a fake commercial. Like, I love making fake commercials. It's one of my most favorite things in the world. Like, I can be driving. I fucking did it yesterday. I drove to Illinois Friday night to do some scouting Friday night and Saturday midday till I could not take it anymore. I drove home yesterday and I was making notes on my phone. Like, I love to create those things. So I did want to do a video something. I wanted to do almost like a Bowhunter channel, but video's not my thing, man. I don't like sitting in front of the computer and editing video. This is my it may never get anything. Like I may never be able to put a dollar amount of revenue to what I am creating, but I've come to terms with that's not the point of this for me. But for some people it is.
So the point, one of those things that I lean on often, and I think you can, with a lot of dick and fart jokes, right? But is somewhat of like a legacy. Like I always think about like when, like, for example, like we had years ago, Todd Prignitz on, and like, I got to talk to him, I got to meet him, all of those things. But like for his newborn, that, you know, from when he passed away, there's always something out there for them to go back and listen to, like who my dad was, or who he was at that time. So I think that that's one of the cooler things that I think often gets overlooked is like, I mean, we live in an age right now where, you know, my phone shows me all these like pictures of my daughter for, you know, and we're probably like the most documented people. Like the further that this life goes on and technology goes further, like our lives are like very much more documented, but that's all taken for granted until we're not here anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I always like kind of take a little bit away from it with that.
I believe I have discussed that before with somebody, and it's something that I don't think about much until recently. So like I am 44 and some change, and I just in the last couple of years, like I had 3 grandparents still, which is really unusual for a lot of people. So I still have my one grandma, like, but in the last couple of years, my grandpa passed away on my mom's side, and then my grandma just passed away. And we were, you know, they're fucking 95. Like that's a long life, full. There's no regrets there, with an A. Like we go to her memorial service, you know, that's right. And I realized that my parents, my mom and her sister and her brother had to go through, their words, not mine, shoe boxes of physical pictures. And I thought to myself, one of these days I'm going to die. And there's some physical pictures of me, but they're from 20 some years ago. They're all on my phone. Everything's in my fucking phone, my wife's phone. My kids don't have phones yet, so they don't have pictures of me. I ain't telling nobody what my combination is to my phone. That thing's going to get incinerated with me.
You don't want to see those notes.
You don't want to see those notes. Those are dying with me. So for Father's Day, I asked for one of those new Instamatic Polaroid cameras. So although it's going to be few, for the rest of my life, I want to create physical memories to leave behind. It's so morbid to think about, but I don't want it to just be electronic anymore. It will be there. They will be able to go back and listen to their Uncle Adam and their dad be absolute maniacs for 250 episodes, and then they'll, however many Angel Road lasts, that as well. I had another one in there called Aggressive Whiskers. They can listen to that if they can find it. It's all on the thumb drive. So the magic thumb drive.
So one of the things I had, because if you listen to Brett's podcast, he's got all sorts of these like weird things here and there. And one of the things I have on here, because you said like about the process, like you just mentioned it, and like you like the process. So for you, I would say like not necessarily in podcasting, like in hunting, in life, organization or chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's organized chaos. Like there's a method to my madness, but it's not. I'm regimented, but I'm loosey goosey.
Can you expound on that?
If you were to look around me right now, my office / shop / hunting storage is chaos, but I know where everything is. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it till like August 15th. I'll wash everything and then it will go back in the bins. When I'm done with something, this is going to drive people crazy, but wherever it is, I set it down. Like don't necessarily put things away where they go, to my own detriment. However, in the woods, I'm a little more methodical. I think when I do anything, I'm a little more methodical. When I'm at work, I'm more methodical. But when I scout, I'm pretty intentional. When I'm at work, I'm pretty intentional. But I've also in my 40s, I developed more of a fuck it attitude. I think since COVID, listen, I didn't ask if I could swear on here. You're gonna have to beep all those out.
No.
Oh, good. I mean,
No.
I've listened to the show before, but I just can't remember how much swearing goes on. Since COVID, and I realized that life is short, and people are going to take advantage of you and try to hold you down. I really developed the fuck it attitude, and this is me, and I'm going to do my job really well, but no, I'm not answering emails on Sunday. No, you can't call me after 4:30. If I'm my kids thing, it's going to have to wait till tomorrow. We have so many. I work for a giant fast food company, and there are so many stopgaps to fix problems that it just doesn't have to just be me. Like, there are a multitude of other things that those people can use to figure it out. I can't be everybody's problem solver. So I set boundaries in my life, but when it comes to hunting and scouting, I am a little more focused.
So for me, like, I am not. I enjoy like the chaos, and I think like with the podcast, that's like the creative thing, like you said, like, but like I said, I would rather like fly by the seat of my pants and like than be like, oh, it has to be just this way. And with hunting, is like I have like obviously get to the tree, have a system, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like trying to learn and be a better hunter. And that's one of the things where I'm interested to talk to you about your, like, because when you talk to like Kurt or Nate or like even like Jake, like it's always about like bigger bucks and everything. And I am like very loosey goosey. Like I don't run a whole lot of trail cameras. Like this year, every year I feel like I say like I'm gonna do better. Like, but I'm not. I'm gonna try. But I like being surprised. Like, and the difference for me, I think, is, and I just had this conversation with Nate, is that when I go out of state, I have had success out of state. Like I've killed bigger bucks out of state. I've been in a lot of encounters with big bucks out of state. And in Michigan, I have not. So I have that expectation when I go in the woods in Michigan. And it's maybe like to a detriment to myself, saying like, well, I'm not trying any harder because I haven't had that success. I'll just go out of state and it'll be easier. And Nate's the first one, when he was saying, after I listened to the podcast you did with him, I called him and I'm like, I feel attacked, because he's like, oh, I always want to help everybody. I want to tell them that, they could do better. And I'm like, well, fuck you, dude. Like, you're hunting private land, in all this farm country, everybody on every block, because they're in your hometown. Everybody will just let you hunt, kill all the deer. Like, yeah, okay. Like, but you could do so much better. Well, I could do lots of things. I could have gotten all A's, but I decided to have fun.
Yes.
So it ends up being like, I like to be surprised. So I like to go into an area and be like validated that the deer is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to be like, oh, I don't know if there's anything bigger, and I don't really care. I haven't shot a deer yet. Let's shoot that one. Like, So for you, when you go into the woods, like you said, when you're scouting, you're methodical and all this stuff. Like, what draws you to an area, or like a new area? And we're talking in Michigan rather than like out of state. So we'll get to that later.
Well, so first of all, I would like to ask you, because you said that, with your podcast, you like to be a little more loosey-goosey. Was it always that way?
It took about, I don't know, 20 episodes to just be like, fuck it.
Oh, because that's pretty quick.
Well, because this is what would happen is like, in your mind, you think, I'm going to have this podcast and we're going to talk about these things. And at that first 20 episodes, well, I didn't know anybody. So every freaking discussion was a first date.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
by 40 minutes, you start to get past that like awkwardness and you have some sort of rapport.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like gets into the like good conversation. You'd be like, all right, well, it's 60 minutes. Don't want to keep you any longer. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like when I listen to podcasts and that's what was happening, I was like, stop. Who cares about the time frame? Like, just talk and like, don't cut it off as soon as it gets good because the time said so.
We all
You
say
know.
the same thing, don't we? No,
I don't know.
We do. That was the rhetorical question. We all say, I've taken up a lot of your time tonight. Thank you so much. I fucking do it.
Now,
Everybody-
I mean, at this point, like, I'm kind of like the Midwesterner, like, welp.
Look at that. Oh,
Yeah.
best
like,
be going. Slap your knees.
Yeah. Yeah. I just always transition to like, hey, where can we find all your stuff? Because,
Yeah.
like, again, I love the rabbit holes and the tangents and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I don't really care. But I always want to, like, approach it to, and it's the way it was from the beginning, and it's the way that it is right now, is I want to make sure that anybody from the highest level hunter, like Dan Infall, could listen to this if he had an open mind and say, huh, I didn't know that Jake Bush did it that way. Or someone who didn't know, like, because when you talk to Dan or Andy May or some of these guys, they don't know what it's like to not know what a scrape is or like what a buck bet is. They haven't thought from that level. So I have to like try to pull something from the new guy
Sure.
who's just like picking this up and saying like, oh, well, these guys can do it. They're idiots. Maybe I can do it too. And then you talk to somebody really high level who's talking in like, you know, just terminology that is their everyday life, but it's
Right.
not for Mr. Carrot Pile guy. Like it's,
Carrot Pile.
yeah, he
You
can't
don't dress up as
understand that.
Mr. Carrot Pile for Halloween this year. I'm going to be so disappointed in you.
The amount of Halloweens I spent toting my bow in a real tree coverall as Mr. Carrot Pile for Halloween from the time I was 10 until I was 15, you know?
I love it.
So,
Well, listen, the second part of your question to me was what draws me to an area. So the reality is I moved back home in 2017 and knew jack shit. I started hunting in 2001 or started hunting in 2001 or 2 with a really nice Matthews bow that my boss talked me into buying that was way out of my budget and a Summit climber. Up in the Grayling State Forest with my buddies. Never saw a deer. Not a single deer. Never saw one deer in daylight.
I gotta ask you about that. Like, so how far a drive is that for you?
I think, if I remember correctly, it was 2.5 hours.
And that was like normal. Did you go up there for camp or did you go like, oh, we're going to go hunt this weekend in 2 sits or something?
It was a camp. My buddy's dad owned a lodge right on the Asable, and we were supposed to work on the lodge. It was very, very minimal. There was a lot of alcohol. Mod Dieters, the original Mod Dieters, was still there in Luzerne, and we would go to Mod Dieters, close the bar, drive home, and try to hit a deer with my truck because there was no other way to get a deer, and then we would try to hunt in the morning. Like that was it. So that we would stay in a pretty nice accommodations.
Okay. So continue.
But yeah, I moved home after a really long break, and those guys were the same buddies were still hunting, but they had this incredible property that we still hunt today in Hillsdale, big buck country, man. It's incredible down there, and I'm not naive to know or to think that I'm not super lucky to have that. But it was permanent sets, and it was at the time we could bait. And we had the feeders set up, and you sat in a stand. Now, I knew nothing. I just, whatever those guys told me, I listened to it, and that's what we did. And then, a couple years later, they removed baiting again. And instantly I realized I'm seeing way more deer without feeders. And it's incredible. So I started to pay attention to that. And then I got hurt in 2021, working around the house. And that year, so let me back up. 2020, I continuously found myself saying, I need to be 50 yards that way. I need to be 50 yards that way. Whatever, 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards. But at that time, the group's mentality was, we'll just go out after the morning hunt and we'll pull down the lock-on and the sticks and we'll move it 50 yards, okay? But I had started to see advertisements from Latitude in 2020. And so for my birthday in 2021, my wife bought me a Method Classic. And so that's 2021, I started procuring everything needed to saddle hunt. Because in my brain, that would solve the problem of needing to be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards in any direction without having to make the racket of yanking down a lock-on and a bunch of sticks. And then in the Saturday before Easter in 2021, I hurt my eye, and I was like, shit. So I was all laid up, not sure if I was going to be able to hunt. Bought a crossbow, figured I'm going to have to hunt with a crossbow because I can only see out of my left eye. And while I was healing, I started consuming tons and tons and tons of YouTube hunting content and podcasts. And that's when I realized people are hunting out of state. People are hunting in state, but they're hunting in different methods. I started to learn about thermals. I started to digest information on hill country and swamps and so on and so forth, because I have a swamp at that Hillsdale property. Anyway, all of that content that I consumed while I was injured changed my life forever. I look at property in big buck states. I mean, my job takes me to big buck country. That's just, I'm blessed to say that I have to travel for work, and it takes me to Ohio, all over the place. It used to take me to Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana. Like, I could travel for work and hunt, and the company would pay for it. Just, that's how it worked. And so I would take the information that I was consuming from the biggest, most consistent killers out there, and I was plugging that into Onyx, and I was seeking out places, and then boots on the ground.
When you're choosing those, well, I guess I'll step back. I'll think about what was like going through my head during that is, what is different for you hunting like out of state than in state? Because that's, I mean, like, that's the way that I feel. Like, when I go out of state, like, I go out of state like I don't want to say like it's going to be easy, but I pick a time where it's going to be the rut or there's going to be deer moving. So all I have to do, I have no, if I were to say like how I feel about like myself, like confidently as a hunter, like deer hunter, good. Buck hunter, shit. Like, I can find deer, so it's no problem. So in that time when I go out of state where I feel like there's going to be bigger bucks, I find an area where I think there's bigger bucks. Go find the sign, whatever. But then find, if you're having trouble finding buck sign or whatever, find the deer sign and then follow the deer. So I mean, I feel super confident to go into the woods and just find a deer, and then during that time, if you sit long enough or observe and adjust, you're gonna get into bucks.
Yeah,
you know. So for you, how do you is that kind of like the way that you feel? You know, because it's interesting that your hunting journey has learning curve has been so quick from like the content that's been put out by, you know, kind of like the guys you talked about, like guys that, you know, now that you know.
Yeah. You know, interestingly enough, maybe I heard you incorrectly, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I think I look at hunting out of state as being exceptionally difficult. Did you say the opposite of that?
Yes.
So I look at it as exceptionally difficult because I'm so inexperienced. And for that reason, I have been trying to find the words to best explain this. I'm going to try and do it again. Maybe it was DJ that just did this. Maybe it was Clint when DJ was on his podcast. it's me versus me. And I don't play hockey like I used to. I don't do anything. I work, I hang out with my family, and I hunt. And so hunting to me is the physical challenge of me versus me. What can I do to push myself beyond what I think I could normally do? And it just so happens to be that I want to do that while hunting deer. So I look at it as a very difficult thing. Maybe that's naive, but I do think it's partially because of my inexperience. But I just do it. I just go and I do it. And if I find the sign, fantastic. If I don't, I just keep trying to find it. I've been pretty lucky so far, honestly.
So how has that like mentality like shaped your hunting though, like out of state? Like, you know what I mean? Like if I go into it and I say like, oh, this is very difficult and this is what I'm going to do, what are the things that have allowed you to be successful in doing that? Like the times that you were successful, why was that? Why were you lucky, quote unquote, lucky all of these times?
Because I'm too dumb to quit.
So
I think so.
But so one of the things that I feel like is a common denominator amongst those like real killers, like the guys that are like consistent, they don't have like a, they have like a, you'd think that they have like this crazy drive, like to just keep going. But I think that they have like a mindset of like, these deer are just stupid animals. Like we give them too much credit and they just think, well, I mean, I always go back to like Zach from the Hunting Public is like, if he sees a deer that he wants to kill, he's going to go kill it. Like,
yeah.
Jared Scheffler, right? Like same thing, right? And if you have like long form conversations with those guys, they're just animals. Like they're animals. Like you can figure it out. And so like just the whole stick-to-itiveness or like being persistent, like you could persistently just walk up and down the same 2-track looking for a deer, glassing or whatever. So like give me an example of one of these hunts that you were on. Like say the deer behind you there, the one up over your right shoulder.
This one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So how were you just lucky and, stupidly pursued this deer and it just sort of fell into your lap?
That deer there, it was that was shot with a gun from a permanent hang-on stand in Hillsdale. It was November 18th. It was snowing. That deer had been on camera. There we go, camera talk again. That deer had been on camera routinely for the previous week. He seemed to be making a 2 or 3 day loop between the properties, and he was coming in from the west side every single time. And I set up on the west side of the property, and that he came following a group of does across the street. I mean, that to me is not as I don't know that that's what you were looking for.
But it's okay because we can take from that it wasn't just luck. Like you didn't just go sit on a bucket nowhere. You took all this information.
That deer's a different story.
And I would love to hear that. But just from what you just said, though, you had all this information and you used it to kill that deer.
Yes.
It wasn't just lucky. Like you said, okay, well, Randy's going to that one, so I guess I'll sit over on the West 40 today.
Fucking Randy. It's always Randy.
That would be, well, I don't know why I used Randy, but there was a guy that hunted this place down in Ohio where we hunted, and it was fucking Randy. So
I know a fucking Randy.
Yeah.
And a Dwayne. I worked with a Dwayne one time, and Dwayne was something else, man.
So, but you took information,
yeah,
and utilized it. So the other deer where you said that one's a different story. So where's the luck involved with that one?
So I had a job that was going to start in Illinois, and I had predetermined that I wanted to find state property in Illinois to hunt while I was going to travel for work visits. And I had done a little bit of scouting at that particular area. I had had some unsuccessful sits. But it was it was getting to be the end of December, and there was a really major cold front coming in 2022. And it was like December 19th. And I got up super early and drove out to this area and scouted my way in and did not see what I was ahead of the front, didn't see what I was looking for. In fact, I saw a ton of other hunter sign. I thought, I think people have been out here recently. I just tore ass through here. I got to get out of here. I'm going to go to the other side of this property. And there was snow on the ground, and I literally just tracked the buck tracks. I tracked them in the snow to a funnel into the woods along this field edge, this CRP edge, and I set up in there. And talk about luck. Like maybe an hour into my sit, somebody got home at their house on the other side of the state land. And when they slammed their door and started shoveling their driveway, I think that buck was in their yard, and they bumped him and he ran right freaking to me. Just luck, man. I mean, yes, the deer were in there. So yes, I read the sign, and yes, I set up in the right spot on their travel corridor. So, okay, there's a little bit to it, but
yeah. And that's the thing is if you say you're too stupid to quit, I would say that you would have been much more stupid to sit, right?
Yeah, I think what I mean by I'm too stupid to quit is I will do all the hard stuff because I'm too stupid to quit. I'm not as young as some guys that are hunting, and so it would be easy for me to sleep in or casually drive 6.5 hours to another state, and if there's 78 minutes left until shooting time, to say, fuck it, I'll hunt tomorrow. But instead, I will hump it across a chisel-plowed cornfield to hunt the last 78 minutes because I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Illinois. So I'm too stupid to throw in the towel on something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, though. I think it almost goes back to what you were talking about, your attitude towards life in general now, right?
Me versus
me.
No,
the thing where it's fuck everybody else, it's me, my family, on my time, right?
That's true.
I feel that way when I go out of state. I'm able to be unplugged from my daily needs or being pulled in any direction. So to go drive 100 miles in a day and check 5 different properties and walk in and be this is going to be the one, get fully suited up, walk a mile in there and be nope, that ain't it. And walk back, get in the truck, go to the next one until it gets dark and then just keep going.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is you only have so much time there. And I think I say it all the time, on our podcast is literally, if I hunted in state the same way that I hunted out of state, I would be way more successful. But it's always well, I got to be home for this. So I can't, if I go all the way out there and then if I shoot something, then it's going to be like this. So then I'll just go to this other spot where it's kind of good or whatever. And this looks okay. I guess I'll just sit here, until it gets to be, right in the better part of the year or whatever, when I make a plan to do something. But yeah. That's the way my in-state hunts always go. And out-of-state, it's exactly what you said. I don't think that it's too stupid to quit. I think you would be way stupider to be well, I guess I'm going to sit here because this is what I planned.
Yeah.
And you have you have no history with a lot of this stuff. So it's you just keep walking. Something maybe you would sit at home. You're this is not what I came here for. I'm looking for a sure thing, and this isn't it. So just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. You mentioned something there that I tried to talk about recently too, is I hunted a lot last year with like a stopwatch going always. And it really, I didn't realize it until later in the year how much it burned me out. I was really trying to be more present at home. Not that I am not present at home. My wife and I work from home. Our kids are homeschooled. We see enough of each other. We really, truly do. But I was trying to get up early, go hunt somewhere in Ohio, and then be home by 3:30 so that I could eat and then take my son to hockey. And I was killing myself. Physically, I was exhausted. But mentally, I think what was happening was I was so focused on the end time that I needed to be down from the tree and packed up because it was X amount of minutes or hour walk back to the truck so that I could drive, and what was the traffic going to be like. I was thinking about being done before I ever got even in the tree, and I can't do that again. But like you said, that's how you look at home too. And I was kind of looking at my Ohio hunts last year almost like they were home properties because they were close enough.
Yeah, and like I would say like home, like when you sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the hardest part. I can tell you that, like, obviously, you know, I would say like I'm not the greatest buck hunter like in the ever, but I want to say my daughter was probably like 2 or 3, and it was like the perfect day to hunt. Like it was absolutely like, it was like mid-October, like light rain, like overcast, like consistent wind. I had like a camera that I was like, there's deer there, like they're gonna be there, like everything's right. And my daughter was like, Dad, are you going hunting today? And I was like, and what's funny is I'd been listening to like a lot of the Dan Infalt stuff where he was like, oh, I've been a bad dad. Like, you know, you'll never get these years back, and yada, 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 which a lot of times we hear it and we're like, it's bullshit. Like, you know, like, but that I was like, you know what? I'll just stay home. And I didn't hunt. And that year was like one of my better years because I was like trying to figure out that timing of like when I could just go do whatever I wanted and when I should. And so I felt like maybe that bought me some like brownie points to be able to like, you know, but I don't know. But I feel, and maybe it's just like my own, like in my own psyche, I was like, that's why, you know, karma got me this year. Maybe I did something better. Maybe I was lucky. Maybe, you know, all these things. But I think that sometimes those little decisions kind of like work themselves out down the line.
Listen, I may seem like I'm not, but I am a real, like, I don't know what the right word is. I'm a little whimsical at times where I believe in all that kind of stuff, man. I feel like if your energy's good, it transfers to everything that you do. And if the energy's good at home, you're going to carry your good energy into the woods. And I think it all translates. You vibrate at a frequency that, I mean, listen, people probably just turn this off because I said that. But I believe it. I believe you vibrate at a very specific frequency when you feel good and you're doing good things. And conversely, you are putting off bad vibes. If you are in a bad mental place, and I can promise you my brother would agree with that. If you're vibrating bad, it goes into the woods with you. And so I think that there's part of it, man. But listen, I've also said it is imperative that our children see their fathers, in my opinion, their fathers, but you know, the more I say that, I think their mothers as well have passions, things that they like to do for themselves, and it's critical that they see them work hard to be able to do those things. So many people give up on their passions because they become husbands and wives and parents, and then they miss out on the things that they love as well. And so then that kid grows up to say, well, my parents didn't do anything. I can't have I'm going to be just like my parents. They didn't have anything that they did. I think they need to see you work hard to make time for the things that bring you joy so that you can be happy at home too. I think it's very important.
Yeah, my daughter would not. She has no lack of passions from her family.
That's good.
You know, it's funny that you say that though, because like, how old are your kids?
I have a 14, 11, and 6.
Yeah. So my daughter's 9, and you know, she was probably 2 when she first started doing her own little podcasts. Come down
that's
here,
awesome.
put the headsets on, and we'd turn on the cameras, and we got a TV up here so she could see herself, and she'd be like, "Oh, hi guys," like blah blah blah, and you know, like that. I mean, she's like, "Dad, do you have merch? Like, how many subscribers do you have? Like, all these things."
Too
you know?
funny.
So she loves that, and then so this year I brought her up to the Total Archery Challenge, and she like, so I'm now on the board for our Bowman's Club. And so we spend a lot of time up there, like, you know, doing what end up being like logistical things, kind of like we'll go up there for the fish fries, but like for the fundraisers and all the stuff like that. And then we'll go shoot, and she's up there when we're shooting bows, getting sight tapes set up and all that stuff. But now she's almost got like some FOMO, like, who was up there when you were up at the club? Like, was Jake up there? Was Russ up there? Was John up there? Like, I should have went up there. Like, I should have went. But I took her to the Total Archery Challenge up in Crystal on Father's Day. Ran up there, and so she got to see kind of like what I do when I go up there, and I go talk to all the people that I know, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And then we got to shoot the course and stuff like that. And she already said today, she's like, I'm already looking forward to next year, and it's like super cool. So you know, there's, whether it's hunting or whatever, like she sees like all the things that we're doing.
That's great.
And like, yeah, my wife would be like, that's not great. Like, you need to do less. Do less.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Does she have things that she loves to do?
She works out a lot. So her, like, I think that's like her mental health thing is like,
Oh, yeah.
get up at 4 a.m, go to the gym.
Good for her.
That's her, like, live or die.
That's awesome.
And then we have like a really super close group of friends. So we do, like, I joke around because I always like steal some of the time for scouting or whatever, but I'm like, the summer is my wife's. Like, we've got where we do our Patreon camp, like we go up there and camp with all of our friends all summer long, and we got a pontoon boat, so it's just like, if the weather's nice, like that's her jam. Like, but when it comes to the fall, and then she does a lot of travel, like does a lot of traveling.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and so you know, I'm a year younger than you or whatever. Okay. So like, we had kids later in life. Like, our daughter's 9. We were married for 11 years, and we've traveled the world, done the things, we've conquered the world. Like, this is just our next adventure.
Sure.
This is like this child. And so even when she was a baby, like, we traveled, we would, because we have FaceTime and shit now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, there's no worry about, you know, and one of the things I think that kind of goes along with what you said is like, your kids need to see you do these things and be passionate about it. But like, whatever you do, if you sold crack and cooked meth in, you know, the other room of, you know, the Beefcakes gym, that would be normal for your kids because they saw that every day.
Unfortunately, yes.
That would be normal. That would be their life. So like, the fact that we are gone traveling and she's at home, and sometimes she comes with us and sometimes she doesn't, but that's been that way since the day that she was born. Like, I've been hunting like this since the day that she was born. Like, we've been doing all of these things. So this is, you know, one of the things with this podcast and talking to guys like you and who are like super ingrained in this is like, I hope that it comes through that this is not like it's never been like a hobby. It's always been the way that it is. We just record our conversations now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why we started the podcast. So we would have these 3-hour conversations about hunting and setting up bows and all this stuff. And I was like, well, where is this information out there?
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I again, that's not why I started doing podcasts. But there was a connection there. It was how do we how do we ensure that we're making a connection to not lose our relationship? It was me and my brother. Funny enough, he didn't start recording with me for 50 episodes because he was afraid of his professional reputation. And then that young man went on an absolute tear for the next 200 episodes, creating the most nonsense of anybody. But yeah, it was a connection. I wanted to make sure that we stayed connected across the country. And then I wanted so badly to be in some form of talk radio that's just what I wanted to do. And so, again, fast forward 15 years, it's like, well, this is a medium that I understand. I can play the game. I can put it all together. I'm talking about different things now. So I think it's wonderful. I think the most important thing that I was trying to say earlier is your kids need to see you not just have a passion, but work hard to make sure that you don't lose your passion. You don't give it up.
Yeah. Now that's where it's funny to me. This whole passion thing, because I feel like super passionate about bow hunting, super passionate about deer hunting, whatever. Where it gets dicey, I feel like is the big buck or your opinion of your hunt versus mine. And man, that line is so muddled. It's not even gray. It's there are so many blacks and whites that we can only see the gray, but it's actually everybody has their own opinion of I don't know, there's the hunt your own hunt guy, and then the needs another year, we don't kill does, crossbows are for dicks, all of these things that I will agree with. Yeah, sure. I agree 100%. But I feel like it's if you're gay or trans or whatever, I don't give a fuck. Just keep it to yourself. Go have fun and shut the fuck up,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting because, what you just said is a matter of fact. So you've got people who criticize because they get a boner when they criticize somebody and they feel really good, like their day is just fulfilled. I'm not going to say I'm innocent, but I'm going to say that there's that camp. And then there's going to be the other camp who has to say what happened because they know that it's going to rile up the other camp. And so it's a back and forth. It's a ping pong match of douchebaggery is what it is. And listen, again, I'm not innocent, but
me neither.
I think what's important is, did you say fuck crossbows?
I did.
Listen, I bought a crossbow because I thought I was only going to be able to shoot a crossbow. And look what I did. I learned how to shoot left-handed. So motherfuckers, you can do it.
Let me just interject here real quick because you'll appreciate this. My daughter goes with us to shoot the trad league on Sundays in the wintertime. Not because we're super cool trad guys, just because it's fun. And she's got a couple of trad bows now, and she goes and shoots this 3D league with us. We literally got in the car and she said, "Dad, do we have a crossbow?" And I said, "No." I said, "But if you would like to get one so you can hunt." I mean, this girl was in tears 3 years ago because she couldn't hit shit with a 243. And she's like, "Can I just use my bow?" Wanted to hunt so bad.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, it's just not happening this year, kid. So I said, "But if you want to get one so you can hunt longer, so you can hunt in better weather, so you can hunt." I was like, "We can get one." She goes, "Seems kind of lazy." And I was like, I would agree with you, but for kids and for things like that. And she goes, "Well, at least it's not an air bow." And she's not. So
she listens.
Yeah.
She's a sponge.
So she's paying attention.
Yeah. That's for sure.
But anyways, like you were saying,
I was just saying. So I think there's a There's something for everybody, and I think getting people in the woods is important, especially if you're paying attention to what's going on today in politics. Getting people involved and excited about being in the outdoors is paramount. But that being said, if you know your friend group, I'm specifically your friend group, not Randy on Facebook or Darnell on Facebook. I don't know Randy and Darnell, but I'm just saying that's not the people.
We've already established Randy.
That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people in your sphere of influence. If you feel like that person is being lazy and can do better, you should be encouraging them to be better. And if that means that you know they're being lazy and not practicing with their vertical bow because their crossbow is lethal to 100 yards, you need to tell them, I know what you're doing. And that's the fun. That's the ribbing. You poke, you joke, there's truth in jest, right? So you joke with them, you let them know that you're paying attention, and you encourage them to push themselves outside of their comfort zone because it's good for them. If you have a person who you know wants to shoot bigger deer, if you see them shoot 1 and 2 year olds because that's all they see, then they're not, and you know they're not trying any harder, you can say something to them. It's not that you're teasing them about their buck. What you're doing is you're saying, I see you. It's great that you're hunting, but you told me you wanted to do this, and I see you doing this. I'm calling you out. But that's not like, don't argue with people on the internet. That's not going to fix anything.
Well, thanks for coming on, Brett. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Like I already told you, I feel attacked by this.
Listen, if you say to me, Brett, I am so fucking tired of shooting 100-inch deer in Michigan, and you say it to me more than one time, and then you go out and shoot a 100-inch deer, I'm going to say something to you. Like, hey, what happened? But I also don't fucking care. It's yours. But I'm going to say something because you said to me, this is what I want for myself. I'm not going to forget that.
Yes, I 100%. And I think that goes along with what you said, like to open the podcast almost like funny is funny.
Yeah.
Like it, as long as it isn't like malicious or you're like talking down to someone.
Yes.
That I think is like where the line gets really straight, like where there's like a line in the sand. Yes. There is like, and that's one of the things, like I said, I don't really care. Like if you're having fun, then have fun, but kind of like along that same lines. And I guess it could translate into just what you said with like the antler size of deer is like, if you're out there killing deer, I did say this though. I think that there should be like the super public land kayak crossbow hunter. Like I can get behind that guy. Yeah. But if you're not that and you're Mr. Crossbow guy, then you shouldn't be speaking on what guys kill with a compound or a trad bow or whatever. And you should not try to make yourself the authority. Now you may be the authority in a crossbow circle, and you and your Ravenites can frickin' get all up in it. But I just don't think that's where I have like a problem, I guess, Yeah,
I get it. Listen, back earlier I said that I developed this attitude in my 40s where I was like, I don't fucking care, man. I'm going to tell you what's up. That's just the way it is. And I don't know why. It's very freeing. I don't claim to know much of anything. In fact, I said I'm still very naive and still very young in hunting. And so I don't want myself to ever come off as try to claim that I'm some authority figure and know everything. I'm just trying to have a good time and be entertaining. But if I have people in my group that I feel something needs to be said, I'm going to say it. I'll be the guy. Most people don't want to have that conversation, but I don't really care. I think a lot of people want honesty and they want transparency and they want to be called out. And I think sometimes people drop little hints that are almost like leading you into that, almost baiting you into, please help me. If I'll be that friend that will call you out on your bullshit. If it's health, if it's fitness, if it's alcohol, if it's narcotics, if you need to be spoken to, I'll be the guy, because I feel like there's not enough. Everyone's afraid of hurting everybody's feelings. It started a long time ago. It still happens today. It's getting better, but everybody's afraid of hurting everybody's feelings. But that we need a little tough love periodically.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't want that to have come across like I was talking to you. No. I was just talking to the internet or the hunters as a whole. Is that like that's where I take offense, or like where I start to perk up is like, who the fuck are you to say this? But I really have no desire to hunt with a crossbow or to hunt with people that hunt with crossbows unless they have one arm or something. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. This may transition pretty nicely into like some of the NRC stuff, because I wanted your opinion, because you went to a meeting and
I did.
We're all hypocrites. The whole thing is, but I feel like that's the way that I feel about like Michigan with like $2, $1 antler point restrictions. Like I would rather have $1.
Yeah.
So you're not, same with the crossbow. Like for kids, for 100-year-old dudes, like I don't want to steal anybody's first hunt, first deer, or last hunt. Like I don't want my grandpa, like you talked about, like 95 years old, like his last opportunity, and he's got to pass this 4-point because of antler point restrictions. You're robbing us of that memory.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I would use that same thing like on Joe. You know, I told him, like, we gave him so much shit for not shooting this spike at our Patreon camp the first year. And that was the thing. It was like we were bullying him into shooting smaller deer because he was robbing us from the experience of celebrating as a group. Like, how selfish can you be? You know, that was our deer, Joe.
Yeah.
That was not your deer. But the same thing for kids. Like, and Adam Cruz, he had a point to say, well, we need to teach these kids some sort of restraint and all of that. And I never had it put to me that way.
Yeah.
And so I say, okay, I can get behind that if that's going to be like the real motive. But again, like every time we step into the woods, it could be our last hunt. It could be our last deer. So why take the joy away from anybody for any of it?
Yeah.
You know,
I do agree with that.
You know, and it's a very like, you know, like woo type, you know, introspective like portion, especially for people who decide like who are making the decisions on what you can kill with your tag. And I really hate that argument. I mean, I really do. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, it's my tag, it's my choice. Like, I'm going to kill whatever I want to. That just sounds like very ignorant. Like, if there's science behind it or something like that, like, okay. Like,
I mean, the second the words come out of your mouth, it sounds like you're already intending to do something that you know you probably shouldn't do.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very ignorant sounding statement.
Listen, I say I'm a grown-ass man. I'll do whatever I want. I say that way too much. But I mean it, but it's partially in jest. Like, I will do what I want, but I also live by this is going to sound fucking high and mighty. I live by some moral standards and some ethical standards that maybe I'm not concerned that what I'm doing when I say that is really bad. Or else I won't say anything. It's really easy to say nothing. Like the internet arguments. You know, many fucking things I see on Facebook that I hate, but I just keep on scrolling. It's super easy to keep on scrolling. I don't understand this desire to just consistently argue with people. Unless you're attacked. You can defend yourself.
It's just funny that you would say that. Just because of the amount of disturbing things that you do post. Like,
what?
Yes. Like, it's like,
Dare you.
well, I just don't say anything. I just keep scrolling, and it's like, you see something like incredibly ridiculous. And it's like, that was 100% Brett. Like, I know.
I don't argue with people. I'll post the worst shit, but I'm not going to argue with people.
Yeah, no.
You got a lot of nerve, pal, after what you sent me in my DMs the other day.
That. So was I not the only person who sent that to you?
You were not the only person that sent that to me. But I did. Yeah. I had seen that, and I know I've shared that, but it was a while ago. I don't know where I shared it. The U-turn glizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to ask if you did share that and who you shared it with.
I'm afraid to find out myself. See, my kids know my kids don't know about the U-turn glizzy, but they know what Lady and the Tramping something is. And so my son will always ask me, did you and mom, when we go out on a date, like, did you and mom Lady and the Tramp anything? I'm like, no, man. Nobody does that in real life.
Yeah, we got this double ender that we...
Double ender.
Glizzy, of
That's
course.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But so for like the NRC thing, like,
yeah.
So was that the only meeting that you had been to, or have you been to more than one?
No, listen, I said this before, and I'm embarrassed to have learned how long that has been in play, and only recently realized that A, it was a thing, and B, you could go to the meetings. So once Josh started posting about it, I realized I had an opening to go to one. I didn't know it was a full day thing, so I had only planned to be gone for the morning. So I left at lunch. I missed the public comment, which was a bummer. However, what I saw was fantastic. I'm glad I went. I realized that I don't feel like the NRC and the DNR like each other. I feel like that's going to be a problem at some point unless they can figure it out. I learned that there's a lot of information that's shared. I learned that there's a lot of maybe not necessarily anti-hunters, but there's a lot of people who don't necessarily look at things the same way that we do that go to the meetings. I learned that the majority of the pro hunting community are old enough to be my parents, I think. And so for that reason, I do look forward to going to more. This last one I was really thinking about, but my wife had some stuff scheduled, so I couldn't leave that day. But yeah, have you been to one yet?
No, and it's the same thing as like I feel guilty because I have a pretty liberal work schedule.
Yeah.
And like I think the one that you guys went to, I had to work that day, and the last one was like the day of like the Thursday before the Total Archery Challenge.
I think the one that I went to was spring break, and that screwed a lot of people up.
Yeah, and so it's like, but hearing yours and Nate's conversation the last time, and ironically, I just, for whatever reason, started watching House of Cards again. And when you guys were talking, and it was like these people who went up to give comment had the same talking points, you know, like organized, like lobbyist type stuff. I thought when you said that those people who are pro hunting were like older, I expected you to say that they were like fucking rednecks or like, you know,
I didn't
inarticulate.
get that vibe.
No.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought you were going to say.
Oh.
Just because like you had said on the other podcast, like I said, that they had like a very consistent message. Like they all went up there and said the same thing in different words, but it was very much coordinated. Where I can see like, well, I've been having this farm for fucking, you know what I mean? And then the next guy's like, I hunt public land and yada, yada. You know, like just because having never been there, like that's,
yeah.
You know, I feel like how we would be represented, but I also think like I would love, and I think that obviously the schedule is out. Like I think we as a community, like with all of these Michigan hunting podcasts need to pick a date and say, we're going to show up. Because how many people were there pro hunting when you guys met?
So when the one that I went to, I would say it was, if I had to do percentages, I would say it was 80-20 pro to anti. So that was good. I do believe it was far more pro than anti.
In the age group?
It was 50 plus primarily.
And how many people, like how many bodies?
Oof, man. I feel like that room was overflowing. I'm like, they actually had to bring more chairs in that day. So that was at the East Lansing campus. I would say 100.
Okay.
But there was there's a lot of people in the background too. So there's videographers in there, and people like taking notes and stuff in the back. There's security officers and stuff. So the room was really full.
But like, because I know when he said like there was a fair amount of younger people, and maybe their number was like 10 or 15 young people. But I feel like if you took, like I said, if we made like a coordinated effort and we said there's, let's just say on the low end that there's 10 Michigan podcasts that could bring 5 people, like the hosts and 4 other people. I mean, that's an extra 50 people who are probably, from your assertion, younger than the most of the people that are there.
Yeah.
So I think that would make a splash.
I agree.
And then if Josh was able to coordinate, like, hey, this is what we want to talk about, I think it may change. We could start a wave of change.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if the blast, like a large quantity of human being blast, is the way, or if it's more of a consistency thing. Like, let's make sure that we have 10 people at every single meeting. Not the same 10, but at least 10 people like-minded at every meeting. Because let's just say, for example, if we have 50 at one, and then the next time we only have 10, that 50 is going to look a little fabricated, for lack of a better term. So maybe the answer is a long, consistent presence to show that we're here and we're not going away. And then maybe 10 becomes 20 every single time, because I mean, inevitably that older generation is going to slowly start retiring from hunting, and so we do need to fill those voices with people from our generation.
Yeah, I could see that, but I also think that the numbers thing is like a law of averages, right? So if you bring 50 people and half of them show up the next time,
that's a good point. But
then they bring somebody else and they're going to tell other people who, and God forbid something that was brought up that pissed them off. Like, you know what I mean? That's going to be the best possible scenario, because they're going to tell everybody.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I like that too. Yeah.
Because if you only bring 10 and half of them show up the next time, well, that's only 5.
Right.
And then maybe they're not the right 5 that are going to be the ones to stand up. I mean, obviously, everything only takes one, et cetera, but it's just like a numbers game. Like,
yeah.
Because there's obviously going to be attrition. It just, I don't know. It is from like and I shouldn't even say it, but so
do it.
Well, no, it's just like so for like a blue collar like hunter, because I'm not like a blue collar guy, so it's like LARPing over here is the fucking look at me.
Have you ever seen actual LARPing in person?
Have you ever seen a big group of Harley riders?
Is that LARPing to you? Yes, and yes.
Yeah, I'm a badass. I'm a businessman by day, and I look at my leather chaps. Like, I mean,
but have you actually seen LARPing before?
That's what I would say.
Oh, so there was, when I lived in Florida, there was a park, and This was before I knew that there was a term for this. And we would take our youngest, she was our only daughter at the time. I'm pretty sure. I don't think we had my son at the time. We would go there, and there would be this group of people who were sword fighting with
like role models.
Yes. Exactly. They were doing that in the park. I'm like, what in God's green earth is happening here? And then I learned that's LARPing. And first time ever, loved it. I hope to see more.
Yeah. Great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Checked out.
For sure.
Role models.
Sorry, I derailed you.
Reindeer games, Ben Affleck. You're Ben Affleck.
Yeah. I don't even remember what you were saying. I'm sorry. Oh,
No,
you're not blue collar.
Yes, but I was saying like that the NRC meeting and the politics of it is like the furthest thing from hunting. Like that's the last thing that a guy who just wants to I want to go to the woods and get away.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what I'm going to do with my tag. Now I got to go to this fucking meeting for these two people who don't listen to each other and they just want to talk in circles about my ability to hunt. Like, it sounds terrible.
Yes.
So that's why I think like big numbers is you get somebody who will stir up that same passion against like what's going on or for the change in the right direction.
Yep.
So that's all.
I think it's worth a shot.
Part. Yeah. I don't know, but I just think, you know, when you say like, why are you doing this, right? For like legacy or for, you know, whatever, for these connections or whatever. But like, it seems like we have the ability to make a difference. Maybe, but I've not been to a meeting, so I don't know if you feel like there was a difference made by you being there or the group being there.
Me, no. The group, yes. I feel like wholly with a W, WHO, wholly, the state wants change. The hunters, the community wants something. Something needs to change. I think just across the board, people want improvements. And so for that reason, I do believe we can make a difference. I don't love the fact that there are two governing agencies that don't like each other that are really pulling the strings. I wish that could be figured out, and I don't know what the answer is because I think it happens in other states as well. So, you know, we'd like to figure that out, but, you know, I do think we can make a change.
So you going the first time thinking that you didn't make a change, the group did, what makes you want to go back? Like what, you know, why show up?
Well, I do, because I believe we can make a change. I want to see it happen. I want to eventually speak. I want to be able to formulate a thought and share it. I want to be a part of the change. I want to see that we are consistently showing up, and I want to be able to witness those improvements happening. Going one time was just getting my feet wet. So I would like to go back. It won't be all the time, but I'll go back.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things where, you know, I've said it a bunch, but like we can be on here arguing, and all we're doing is just like a bitch fest. Like I want it to be this, I want it to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I want antler point restrictions. I don't want antler point restrictions. Like baiting, it should be my choice. Da 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 da. We're not getting anywhere, and we're not getting any answers. All we're doing is bitching, and it's just like white noise that it's just like nobody listens because everybody's got their own opinion and they're mad about it or whatever. We're not doing anything. So
yeah,
like for me, that's why I think we need to go there, but I've not been. So it's like, I don't know if there's a lot of detractors out there that say like, you're going to go and you're not going to be able to do anything anyway. So like, why go?
I think that's most people's opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the government knows that. And they are like, let's exploit that, if you will. People aren't going to show up anyway, so we're going to do whatever the hell we want. But if we do show up, we can call them on their bullshit if we start to see them slipping.
And I also think, like, with the numbers thing, if you were to get 50 people to show up, I think if there was somebody there, let's say someone in legislation who also felt the same way, you might be able to get, a congressman or someone who's being pressured to be like, how did you get this many people here? Like, what, how can I do this for my side? Or to be able to use that as an example to say, like, hey, this many people were pissed off about this, like, and talk to their other congressmen or people who have the ability to make change,
Right.
So I just think it would be easier to be noticed as a mob of flat bills and work boots.
Well, I mean, if you think about what they're doing right now with the selling of public land and how everybody, I mean, it's everywhere, and that's what everybody's talking about. I think somebody like myself who's maybe a tinfoil hat wearer occasionally, I feel like if you're always angry and you're always trying to put out little fires that you see, you can't focus on the big picture. And if the government's got you constantly like separated or divided or fighting or infighting or whatever, that's what they want. They want you easily distracted, but we can't just let them do whatever they want. They will walk all over us. But like you said, if we do show up with the big numbers and there is a congressperson there or somebody in legislature who does see that there is a presence, maybe they won't. I'd like to think that maybe they'll think a little bit more about who's watching and how many people are watching their every move, especially as it relates to the natural resources.
Yeah, did you see, like, who knows what'll happen with it or whatever, but with that public land, that Senator Mike Lee, he did post something that said, "Hunters, I've seen you, we'll adjust the bill."
Right.
Like,
yeah, I would love to know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, I don't know. I may be just as much or more tinfoil hat than you.
Was this a challenge?
I'm so our power was supposed to go out yesterday, and I was digging around through all my ammo cans to find, I had to move my heirloom seeds to get my, NORAD radio that has the lights and stuff on it. So,
From the storms?
No, there was like a scheduled like power outage.
Got it.
Like
a rolling power outage.
Yeah, so they were doing maintenance or something.
I gotcha.
So I had to like move some of my prepper shit to get to some of my emergency lighting.
Fair enough.
But I'm also like, and maybe I'm not, maybe I'm a bit more libertarian these days. But I would be like so far right that I would just want you to leave me alone. Like if I didn't have my wife and daughter, I would love to live in a cave, like my side of the mountain, like hollow out a tree, catch a hawk to hunt for me.
Yes.
Like that's where I want to be. Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like
falconing. Is that falconry where you have a falcon that lands on your gloved hand?
Yeah, actually, one of my friends does that, and I had him on the podcast. And super wild. Like they go out with like nets and shoot these falcons out of the sky, and then they trap them and they keep them in their backyard. And then they don't give them any food, and then they start to reintroduce them to food to make them the nice guy.
Yeah,
and like crazy
it's
stuff.
Amazing.
But yeah, so that was just kind of like what I wanted to know about like your take on the NRC, because I don't know. I would like to say like, oh, we can make a change, and I definitely need to look at that schedule and talk with Josh about trying to get over there. Because I mean, have you met Josh in person?
Yes, at a one of the Mobile Hunter Road shows.
Yeah,
maybe two of the Mobile Hunter Road shows. Maybe I saw him at one and then met him at the next one.
Yeah, great, great dude. But like, man, to like throw yourself into it and just be like, this is what I'm doing. Like, wow, man, that's like commendable.
It's super commendable. Great word. Love it.
But whelp. No.
That was a knee slap, wasn't it? Look at the time.
What else you got? What else you got? One of the things I had on my list was on here, shooter or killer.
Me?
No, like, well, yeah, but like, would you rather be like,
I'd rather be a shooter.
yeah,
Yeah, because there's experiences that go along with that as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, in all the podcasts that I've done, and like talking to like guys, I mean, ask them like their bow setups and stuff, and like most of the guys that were like killers, they were like, I don't know, like, I don't know what my arrows are. They hit at 20. Like I'm spending all my time in the woods, and then the guys that were like, you know, kind of like the chest beaters were always the guys like, oh, I'm 482 grains and they're this and blah, 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 and all my stuff. So,
well, hold on then. Is that a shooter? That's a shooter as a person who knows all the details?
I would say that they put more emphasis on their equipment and their ability to hit targets at whatever, like that can shoot spots but have struggle with animals. For guys that like can't hit shit past 30 yards, but they can get into a buck's bedroom and they know that they're going to kill him at 15 yards, so it doesn't matter.
I rescind my statement, and I am. Well, so I looked at it. I heard your words, but I thought of them differently because I found myself with tons of opportunity last year, but like I shit the bed. Like I shot a really nice buck in the shoulder in Ohio, and I got out of the tree a little too early in Illinois once, and then the next one in Illinois, I just snapped a twig, and the fucker turned around and stared at me. So anyway, like I was in the killer position, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I was thinking of this. I would rather shoot and miss and have that experience than just kill nonstop and it just be like, oh, I'm just fucking killing again. Like, I don't know. Does that make any sense?
It does, and I love it.
Okay.
Because one of the things that is frustrating to me, and you can say that it's because I'm not a big buck killer and I don't focus on these list of things and all this shit. I don't want to be successful every time I go into the woods. And that seems odd, right?
No, but yes, but I know what you mean.
Because then it wouldn't be any fun. Like the challenge, like that's why in my mind, that's like why we bow hunt.
Yes.
Why not shoot them with a gun? Why not hit them with your truck? You know, it's harder than it sounds.
Not as easy as you think.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, I want it to be difficult, and I don't want to make it like a checklist. If I do these 15 things, then I'm going to kill a deer every time.
Yeah,
like I just have to wait until the barometric pressure is this on an east wind with this and this and this, and all my cameras say this. I just have to go there. I just have to be there set up by this time, and I'm going to kill him. Like, fuck that.
That's not hunting.
And I again, like, why I like to be surprised, like, but also, like, again, go to out of state, right? You're just hunting. For the most part, if you're taking a 1 week, 10-day trip with no scouting, like you just map scout your ass off, you go in there. If you're successful, like you're just validated in what you did. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the camera that said it. You had no idea. You just walked in there and did it. Where like, oh, you know, Jimbo's back with blades, and like, man, next year his twos are going to be great. Like, no. So I love everything that you said. I mean, last year for absolutely no good reason. Like, was like, you know what? This year is going to be my year with the trad bow. I shot 11 times at animals in 11 days, I think.
Damn.
Like, I think, like, what? I was shooting, like, the first sit, I killed a little 7-point on my third arrow of the night, and my last broadhead of the evening. So that's how you get those numbers, Brett.
That's right.
So, but yes, no, I love that.
Yeah, it took a while, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's not like I fucked up last year, but it was all successes. I mean, I scouted in my way, and I found my spot, and I set up, and I had a great deer come in on November 1st. I had hunted a historically productive area in Illinois, only to be discouraged by the amount of people that were suddenly in that area. And I got out of the tree like 5 minutes early because I was annoyed, number one. And with only one good eye, I couldn't see that great. And the second my bow hit the ground, a buck walked right in and actually sniffed my bow and took off. I couldn't get it back up in my hands fast enough. Anyway, so like, and then in Illinois in the late season, I ground stalked a great buck, and I had all my shit on my back. Like I had my pack and my saddle stuff, and I'm standing on the ground, and this buck is got his ass to me, and I'd never shot my bow with all my shit on, like my backpack and everything, and I just didn't feel right. And so I didn't know what to do, and I was trying to move, and I snapped a twig and scared him. Anyway, all of those instances were wins. Those were all wins. I didn't shoot any of those deer, but they were all wins. Well, I shot and nicked one, but I didn't bring any of them home. But they were all successes. The season was a success. All of those experiences, wonderful. I wouldn't trade them for anything. I hope to do it again this year. But so a lot of people would think of that as failures. Just took me a little while to realize that that's not failing.
Oh yeah, and you know, like I said before, like starting the podcast and trying to get people to be able to take something away at every skill level, right? Is like you can look at it from a failure. Like,
yeah,
I mean, there's guys who go to the woods and have forgot their arrows, like forgot their releases, like didn't see any deer, got busted, all these things. But if you look at like, and that's what I've learned through talking to so many people is if you take away that, like the next time, if you brought your arrows, like it's a win. Like you have to have a win every day, you know? So if you have your release, like it's a win. Like if you see a deer and you didn't see deer last time, it's a win. You know, who cares that you got winded? Like if you learn from it and you say, okay, well, I can't do that, or, you know, I didn't know about thermals, or I didn't do this stuff. And you have a takeaway from every hunt that is so uber fucked up, but you say, okay, don't do that again. Or this is why that happened. Oh, those deer were 50 yards over there. Like, and they were over there 3 times in a row. Like maybe I need to move over there. You know, you learned those things. And so in your situation, and especially having only, you know, just been lucky.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things, right? Like I was just talking with somebody else, and it was like, these things just don't happen. Like you can listen to everything, you can watch all the videos, but you have to get out there and, you know, realize that shooting with your pack on is different. Like you have to get out there and realize that the fact that there's a whole bunch of extra hunters in there, like you shouldn't be discouraged. You should sit there, you know, and those things all go back to like what we were talking about, where when you feel like you're on the clock, you're like, well, fuck it, I got to be home anyway, so I might as well get down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then you get busted. Like you have to take away those things, but you can't learn those things, or you can't. It isn't learn those things, because you can learn those things, you can hear those things, but you can't like like you don't have that scar of the pain of that happening.
Yeah.
That's how you learn it is, you touch the hot stove and you don't do it again. Like you can be told that a whole lot. Like, don't touch that. It's hot. But you have to touch it. And that's that cracked twig. That's that, letting your bow down early. Like, you have to feel that sting to actually be like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. And that's part of what I love about it. As sadistic as that sounds, that is part of what I love, is the painful learning lessons.
I think that's the, anything worth doing, like, is hard or whatever. But to me, like, again, like making fun of Joe for not shooting the spike, right? Like, the memories that you make in those successes, like, are on the backs of all of those failures.
Mm-hmm.
And the more times that you fail, the sweeter the success is. And that's, like what you're saying, it's like, you don't want to go, I don't want to go out and kill every time. I don't want it to be easy. I don't want it. And there is, some stupid, arrogant, like, bravado sometimes that goes along with that. Like the Cam Haynes is like, why he gets so much shit. Like, you can't dispute the guy's work ethic, like, but like the way that you say it,
yeah,
like there's no disputing that, like, David Goggins is a freak, but everybody references it because he fucking talks so much about it.
Yeah,
like, there's probably a bunch of guys that go do that same stuff very quietly that also do things that suck. Do
you ever think about those deer that you shoot you don't have any history with? Like, you said you like to go in and sort of like be surprised. Do you ever think back on those and go, I wish I had like a story to go along with it, other than just, not to take away from that, just kind of going in blind and shooting a deer, but like, I wish there was more to this story?
No,
never.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Well, I'll caveat that where this year would be super fun. In one of my failures last year, I videoed this failure. I should have been tagged out with the trad bow at our Patreon hunt, like October 11th, I think, or something. I think, and it wasn't in 11 days. I think the last deer that I missed, I think the last time like I took the trad bow out was like October 16th or something, but I missed a deer on that day too. But this particular morning, I shot, and I always just snap shoot, and basically fletchings hit my nose, and that's when I release. I've changed that just a little bit now, just through mechanics. But
is that called instinctual?
So I don't know. Like,
oh, okay.
The funniest part about like killing deer with a trad bow is like, now everybody that doesn't shoot a trad bow is like, what do you do it? Like, what are these terms? Like, fuck, I don't know, man. I just shoot. Like, I shoot a compound bow very quickly. And I would say that it's like more instinctual. I read something after the fact, after shooting a trad bow for a couple of years. And so I used to take it out during gun season. So I would hunt with my compound. And then when it became gun season, then I would take the trad bow out. But it was really difficult to get drawn because there's no leaves on the trees, because, everything is gray.
Sure.
There's like not a whole, so obviously I failed at that a bunch. So last year I went out with my bow, but from October 1st. And in that time frame, I read something about Howard Hill, and the way that he shot, it was like he would draw on the spot, and as he drew, the arrow would come up, or like the sight picture would come up, and then as he settled on the target, the bow would come down, and once it came down, he released. And that's the best way that I can. I'm just looking at a spot, and I'm drawing my bow, bringing it up, and once the bow gets leveled and I get anchored, then I release it.
Interesting.
Like I would say that is, yes, instinctual, but I'm not shooting like point on.
Okay.
I'm not like kind of picking a spot. I'm just like drawing and dropping, and I'm releasing on that. Well, this deer comes in, like we'd been hunting in the antler point restricted area the night before, and so it was like has to have 3 on one side. So this really nice wide like 2-year-old 4-point comes in, and I just let my bow hang there. I was like, oh, I can't shoot him, you know. Then I was like, wait, I'm south of the line now. We're in a different spot. And I was like, pick the bow up. This deer is coming into the scrape. He's at 12 yards. I draw back, and I held for like 1 extra second. I was like, just make sure you make a good shot. And I drew and tweaked my form, and it pulled the riser over to the right. And I shot like what I thought was like right through his antlers. And my dad always told stories of like, if you're going to shoot a deer, don't look at the antlers. As soon as you decide that you're going to kill him, don't look at his antlers, because that's where the arrow's going to go. And that's couldn't be any more true than with a traditional bow when you're just shooting at where you're looking.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I thought I did. Watching the video back, I actually turned because I drew back a little bit further. Anyways, get down. My arrow's completely clean. Nothing. But I had seen this deer run off, and I shot at him again. Missed, hit a branch, arrow went flying. Then he meandered off. Then I saw what I thought was another buck on this ridge, and looking at him through the binoculars, and it looks like his antlers, he's just coming out of velvet. Like they're all bloody. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And I hear this deer blowing, which I thought was like way over the other way because it was a weird sound. Couldn't figure it out. That deer walks off. I tried grunting. I tried to do all this stuff. Nope, not coming. So whatever. Get down. Text my buddy, hey, this is what happened. He missed one that morning too. So super, just fun ass hunt. Like walked into the dark. Like I took him to a spot like that I'd scouted before. This was a spot that I knew. So just random, right? Just had a good win for these spots. Get over, try and find my other arrow. Well, pull my first arrow, clean. Go try and find my other arrow. It's laying here. There's blood all over right where this deer went through, like where the other deer went through. And I'm sitting there thinking somebody else over there shot a deer and he's going to track it over here. So I'm kind of like waiting to see if another guy's coming or whatever. Well, we're looking at the blood and it's all weird and it's like runny. Like, so what we surmise is that I actually caught one blade across the deer's nose, stuck in, but it didn't, no blood on the fletchings, no blood on anything. Arrow buries in the dirt, pull it out, no blood. This deer, that blowing that I heard was this deer like clearing out its nose. I was doing this number, and so it was spreading blood up on its antlers. That's why I saw that.
Holy shit.
So, to answer your question, this year it would be super cool to shoot a buck with a slice across his nose.
Okay, I gotcha.
So that is probably about the only instance where it'd be like, that's the one, you know?
Okay, I mean,
because I feel like all the stories are just like, I don't know. I do not romanticize deer. I do not like, my one buddy, he sends me these big giant bucks from Missouri, and I think I'm going to hunt down there with him this year. But I just say that like these trail cameras are just like deer porn.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like you're just showing me deer that I'll never see, that I'm not like, it's not a reality for me. So it doesn't really do anything for me. And like the fact that when I have trail cameras up and there's a bunch of bucks in the area or whatever, I had one spot there where there was like 6 or 7 bucks on camera last year, and it's only good at the beginning of the season, and I couldn't hunt it. So it didn't really matter. But it was just good to see that they were there, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh. Now, if one of those deer like would happen upon a pattern or something, but it wouldn't, I feel like at least in my mind, it would almost like take away from it, because like yes, I did go out there. I did validate that there was deer in the area, I was able to go in there and kill him, but it just is so much cooler to go and do it without. And I'm not saying for other people that these trail cameras are like whatever, but I just think it's super cool to go in and be excited.
Yeah.
I mean, way different spectrum, but the same thing is like when we had our daughter, we didn't find out what it was. We didn't find out till that day. You want to talk about pissing other people off, but like, when in your life do you really get to be surprised anymore?
That's the ultimate right there, that one.
So then, like, just translate that mentality kind of like to deer hunting, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's me.
Yeah. No, I mean,
So I don't think
makes
about
sense.
this.
I was just curious because I do look back at some of my stories or some of my memories of the deer that I shot, and there sometimes I wish there was more to it. Sometimes, when I think about the really big one that I shot in Illinois, I think the story itself is great. The recovery was something I may never get to do again by myself. But then once I got to the truck, it was almost lame because it was just me. Like I didn't get any good pictures. I got nothing. And I'm sad about that. Just because I don't have that to reflect. Like I can remember everything about it vividly. And I have a couple pictures of like finding him, but sometimes I wish there was more. I wish I had more sits for him. I wish I had I almost wish it went past November 13th. Like I almost wish it was 2 years worth of stories with him. It's and that's kind of lame. Like I should just be super thankful that I got it, right?
Again, I'll say I love that because it I don't know. I'm using your success on your biggest buck or your big buck that you killed in Illinois as an example of what hunting is like to me and like what I try to bring to the community, which is that it's community, right?
Yeah.
So I've killed lots of deer. I've killed, not lots of big bucks or whatever. But the ones that I've killed by myself, it's like, cool. But the ones that I kill as a group or when there's other people there, and I'm just as happy when other people kill deer and I'm there to be able to share that love for the hunt, that recovery, that tailgate beer, all that stuff. Because those are the memories. Like the antlers is like the tangible thing, but like one of my buddies had said it. He's like, when you kill a deer, like the like fun is over. Like the hunt is the fun part. The killing is just like the end. And so I think you get a lot more you can draw out that fun part by doing it as a group or being with your buddies or sharing those memories and even like what you were saying about like the ribbing, right? Be like, oh, it needs another year. Like, nice one, dickwad. Like,
Yeah.
But that's all part of that camaraderie, the experience, everything that I would say those of us who have done it long enough, like what we really love about it.
Yeah. Yep. That's part of its charm for sure.
But I mean, the biggest buck I ever killed was like the second year. Awesome story. Weirdest recovery ever. But one of the other guys in camp killed a deer the next day when I recovered it that morning. He killed one. 6 of us drank 130 beers that night.
Ooh.
So it was,
Damn.
memorable.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So
Was that here in Michigan?
Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, out of state is a different, like Michigan, like this buck here is about the biggest one that I killed. I killed one nearly identical to that, like slightly bigger that I've got mounted in the other room. But And that's just it.
Still fun.
100-inch bucks, man.
Yep.
Tons of fun.
Tons of fun.
Tons of fun. So for you, we'll end on this. If they were to say one thing about you, like at your funeral, what's it going to be? Like, what's your epitaph?
If I have a funeral, because I intend to be cryogenically frozen and then live forever. If I have a funeral, because I missed the boat on that, what would my family say? Because I imagine that I'm going to outlive all of my peers. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like I have really good genetics in my family, so I'm probably going to be close to 100. Man, it's tricky because I just was at like my grandma's funeral, and it was like listening to them talk about her. It's got me pretty emotional. And I thought, what would my kids say about me? And I got to tell you, I don't know. I think they would say that dad was always silly, because they have said before that my wife is a little too intense, which is weird because I'm pretty intense. But they're like, even when dad is sick or doesn't feel good, he's always cracking jokes. Dad was always, I think they would say dad was always funny.
I can imagine being reprimanded by Brett in his DJ voice, like, "Get over here, son."
Man, I think I can be a little strict. I grew up, my dad was pretty strict. And, you know, as an adult with my own kids now, I realize that they just loved me and they wanted me to be safe and healthy and whatever. Like, I get it now. I didn't like it then, but I get it now. I can be pretty strict myself. So I don't think of myself as having a radio voice, but thank you.
You honestly don't think that?
Dude,
oh my God.
One of the worst things ever when you start a podcast is having to listen back to yourself, because you're like, I have never listened to myself before. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, but both of us have done it for forever now.
But now it's fine.
Amount, yeah. So I remember that, but I don't even think about it. I think it's funny when people are like, "I don't sound like that." I'm like, oh my God, like it's like the thing from the movie, like, First Time, huh? Like, yeah. But cool. So where can people like follow along for your crazy inappropriate memes and podcast or two here and there?
So if you would like to follow along, again, this is a hunting thing. Like, I'm not just hunting. Like, I'm entertainment. So Angell Road Outdoors on Instagram. Angell has 2 L's, and that is to pay homage to the guy who afforded us this incredible opportunity in Michigan to hunt some beautiful property. The group of us named it after him. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense to people, so it's hard to figure out why. But Angell Road Outdoors on Instagram, and that's you can also, there's Beefcakes. I think it's Beefcakes Gym on Instagram. I don't do a ton there, but mostly Angell Road. You get a little bit of everything: hunting, outdoors, inappropriate humor. I'm your guy. Tacos, yes. Well, yeah, that's my brother. So he does tacos. We also have, there's YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where all the podcasts go, and there's some videos on there as well, but not a ton.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, man.
And I appreciate you
for taking the time.
Hit the road for fun and heartwarming fishing adventures with the Real American Road Trip.
I just want to hook up one time. I just need to hook up one time.
Catch the Waypoint Original Series every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the Waypoint TV channel. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.
I did get a bite. I have gotten a bite. I did feel it.
From dawn to dusk and every moment in between, Captain Justin Leake and Meredith McCord have an exciting adventure waiting in the water. Catch Chasing the Sun, Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.